How do you navigate your way out of mediocrity? One, acknowledge and celebrate the win. That is realizing that this is a life that you no longer want, that you want more for yourself. Two, work. Hi, soldiers. Just in case you're wondering where soldiers came from, it's a play on word. Body, soul, billions. Soldiers is basically just a cool name for us as people who carry so much soul, but also are very strong. You know, we're very ambitious, we're very daring, but we're also very centered. We're very aligned, we're very demure at the same time. You know, so that's where that came from. But it's nice to have you on here. I love doing this. I love speaking with you. I love these conversations that we've been having and how they stimulate my mind. And today we're going to be dipping our hands in the Soul Bank. If you're just listening or watching for the first time, Soul Bank is a segment of the podcast where you send me your honest questions about life stuff, business stuff, money stuff, and we just talk about it as honestly as possible. This is where we find clarity. This is your space, and this is where we figure things out together. I have a question which I find very interesting. It says, "Hi, Ifoma. How can I navigate out of mediocrity when my environment seems to sponsor it?" This is a very interesting question. I have to think, and I have to make sure that I answer this as thoughtfully as possible, because there is a tendency to just aspire to maguire our way out of these questions. But I love this question so much because there's so many layers to just tear apart and piece back together. The first thing I would say about this is that I 100% understand. I know what it feels like to be this person who has an eye for excellent things. You have such a rich taste in life, but it seems like everything around you is working antithetically to those things that you truly like, that you truly want to do, the kind of work that you want to do versus the jobs that are available to you, the kinds of people that you want to talk to or meet with versus the people that are just around your immediate surroundings, the kinds of conversations that you want to be a part of versus what is available. There's a constant struggle and clash between what you truly want, what you truly need to grow as a person versus what is just available all around you. So I get it. Even as an entrepreneur who has primarily operated in this part of the world, being Africa, sometimes I look around and I see the quality of the problems that we're still trying to solve. A lot of us are still in survival mode. There's still a lot of entrepreneurs who are solving problems in healthcare, logistics and transportation, food and agriculture, clothing and textile, and not in the advanced ways. It's still like just trying to go from 0 to 1. And a lot of times I have been upset because these are honestly low level, mediocre problems that, quite frankly, the government should have at least created infrastructure for more people to then build upon. So I empathize with this a lot because I just know how much of a struggle it is. But here's what I'll say about this. If you're at the point where you have realized that you are operating from a place of mediocrity and there's something more that you want, and you've also recognized that it is your primary environment that sponsors it, then you're in a better place than you imagine. That level of enlightenment is a point that not many people have gotten to. A lot of people still see things that happen around them as completely normal. So if you're dealing with this, it means that you've gotten to a point where you have been exposed to wanting more. You have exposed yourself to things, people, places, and culture that have challenged you and made you question every single thing that you may have believed in since you were probably little. That is progress because the eyes of your heart have been enlightened. They've been filled with light. There's that illumination that has happened. Now you can see. That is worth celebrating. And the second part of that is the ability to recognize that your environment sponsors it. Because quite frankly, you have people who don't even know at all that they're operating in mediocrity, but then you have people who know, but don't even know the source of it. So you have not only identified the problem, you've also identified the root of the problem. That is a win. So we need to start with acknowledging that and letting yourself know that you are one step closer to complete liberation. You have definitely scaled past a certain point where most people don't even bother to get to. So don't quench that curiosity. Keep asking, keep trying to find out. Because what is really happening at this stage is that all you're trying to do is reconcile an internal knowing with what shows up on the outside. You're only trying to materialize what you already have on the inside. There is something in you, that desire to navigate out of mediocrity and move into a steady path of excellence is yours. No one can steal that from you at this point, right? So remain curious about that. Keep asking questions. Even if you ask 1,000 or 1,000,000 people, I always tell my friends that one of the best things you can do for yourself in life as a person generally is develop great taste. Find out how people from other cultures work. Find out how people from parts of the world that you may never even physically ever get to, find out how they think about life, find out how they approach work, how they approach relationships, how they approach money. You would be so surprised the amount of data and knowledge and information that you will gather that would then also start to influence how you treat yourself and how you show up in the world. So you have it within you. To get to that point where what you have on the inside materializes, I will hold your hands very firmly when I say this, but you're going to have to do the work. It is not enough to know what you do not know. You have to reach for those things that you now know that you do not know, but you want to have. You're going to have to sacrifice a lot more than the average person who probably isn't walking around with this level of consciousness. The knowledge that you now have has now become a responsibility unto you. You're going to have to act as someone who has discovered that this is just not the way to go. So what habits do you need to introduce? What habits do you need to change? What routines do you need to set? What extra miles do you need to go? If the average ordinary person does a thing and stops at a certain point, you have to recognize that with this newfound knowledge that you have, you literally cannot afford to operate like the average person. Like you cannot afford it. Because if you ever try to, you'll be left with a conscience that is beating up. You would be eating up by regret of knowing that you could have done more, but you did not. So you're going to have to do the work against all odds. You're going to have to recognize that you are also your environment. As much as you have an external environment, you have an internal environment. You're going to have to show up without excuses. You're going to have to use whatever resources that you have around you to get the resources that you need and keep multiplying it. I say this carefully because I don't want to preach anybody into hustle mode or into deep unrest. So there is also a balance to this. And the balance is that as you give and pour into the world and do your genuine, most honest best, there is a divine angle to this. There is an upper hand that will keep pushing you and tugging you and opening doors for you and making things possible for you. It will happen so much, so often, so frequently that you will also be able to look back and acknowledge that, yes, I worked hard, I did a lot, but this result is definitely way more than I bargained for. This result could have definitely not been just as a result of my own hard work as well, because trust me, a lot of people work hard. A lot of people who don't have certain things is not because they don't work hard. There's an angle to this that is controlled by the divine, that upper hand that will keep telling you not just what to do, but how to do it. That will be an ever present help, just whispering insights and solutions to you, and also strengthening you in your body to do all of the things that you need to do. So, how do you navigate your way out of mediocrity? One, acknowledge and celebrate the win. That is realizing that this is a life that you no longer want, that you want more for yourself. Two, work. You're going to have to do the work and work hard. And three, when you do all it is that you can within your power, acknowledge that there is a divine angle to it. As long as you've given all things your best shot, then the stars will always align for you. I hope this helps, and I hope this frees you and pushes you into a new realm of strength and ambition to keep walking and discovering the path that is truly meant for you. And if it helped you, please share this with a friend, a family, your bros, everyone that you love. And I will see you in the next episode.